Hi, everybody. Welcome to our fifth and final day of our 5 days of wellness. We are just waiting for our speaker to jump on here with us. We are going to be having we're having a focus and concentration talk today, which is obviously fitting, seeing that it's exam week next week. We thought that to round out our very intricate, deep, and detailed 5 days of wellness that we'd end with focus. So we've got a great lineup here for you. And our day today was full, chock full of all sorts of things focused. So at 3:30 today, you can continue focusing with Michelle Hamer. She's doing a fidget toys kind of craft. So join her, please. And let's see if we can get Lena on with us now. You, sir. Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. Everybody, I just wanted to introduce you first and foremost. This is Lina Zacharopoulos, and Lina's joining us from home, but resides at Seneca within the Learning Commons area or Learning Center and is a program coordinator there. And we're so very happy to have you today and to give us a little talk on focus and concentration to get us, into the mood for exam week next week. We thought, again, that rounding out our 5 days of wellness with focus would be a perfect way to kind of cap off a great week. And we're so very excited to have you. My name is Melissa Souza, and I'm the Senior Wellness Coordinator in the Athletics and Rec Department. And how are you today? How's your Friday going so far, Lena?
It's going really well. And you know what? I can tell by the end of the week, I'm lacking a little focus because it's been quite
Yes.
a week. So I
Yes.
think we're talking about the right subject, Melissa.
On the
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely.
It's the time when all the pressure is on the students, so we can totally relate, having been there ourselves and knowing what you're all going through.
Absolutely, definitely, and that's why we love to get those like yourselves that are knowledgeable in these areas and bring them to them like in a quick little hit of, hey, that here's a few little tips to kind of get you through and focused and ready to go for exam week.
Exactly. Well, I'm hoping I'm going to pass a quick tips with you today.
Sure.
And at any time, if anyone has any questions, feel free to let Melissa know, and Melissa's going to be monitoring as I talk.
Yep.
So one of the first things that I want to let everybody know is that there are absolutely no experts on focus because we're all working at it. And one of the things I talked about was that focus is always going to get harder when you're under a lot of pressure because your body tightens up, and with all the pressure you can't focus clearly because there's a lot of stress. So the number one rule is to learn how to relax your mind and your body. Now, I know Melissa had mentioned that you had another presenter do a little bit on meditation and how that relaxed the body. Well, that's actually one great strategy for students to relax. Other people use prayer to be able to tap into a zone outside of themselves. Other students will actually use an object, and I think I'm going to try to show it on the screen here. I don't know if it's going to show or not, but let's see. I don't think it will, but oh, there it is. Okay. So you might get it backwards, but it's little word bubbles, and you're getting it backwards on the screen, but the word says brilliant, blessed, grateful, smile. And what these are, basically they're just little wooden blocks that students sometimes will use something like this to ground them. Sometimes it's a picture that you can have, but the idea is it distracts your attention from wandering. So you always want to have something positive and a central focus point at your desk when you're studying. Most of the time, people are going to be really, really stressed, and they're going to think, oh my God, I have 3 exams to study for. And most of the time, people are going to go into last-minute panic mode and trying to cram everything in. So having a positive message at your desk, something that can ground you, will actually help you to relax your body, to reduce the tightness through that positive messaging.
I like it. It totally
Yeah,
with our wellness week.
I know. It's like, So another thing that has been shown to be really effective with students is, and this is one of the ones you'll often hear, is reducing distractions. But I always tell students that it's not about them, it's about having the right type of distractions. So for example, some students might find that having musical frequencies in the background while they're studying will help them to reach that zone of concentration. I've had students over the years that tell me that they listen to instrumental music, and that actually helps them to break into that concentration focus zone when they're studying. Other students say, no, I can't do that, Lena. It's just too noisy and I have to have absolute silence. So that's another great strategy students can use, and it's often one people talk about. But I would also, like I said, encourage you to have the right level of noise. Sometimes having a little bit of noise in the background acts as white noise, and that white noise helps you to actually learn to focus a little better.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm in that category for sure. I like my white noise.
Me too. I have the music on in the background all the time, and it's usually different musical frequencies, and I find that relaxes me, yes, and it keeps me in a positive state, but also keeps me in that zone that I have to be concentrating.
But I think that was a learning thing for me. I would put on like my favorite music, and then I'd find I'd start singing along. And then
exactly.
So then, like,
which is why you have to be careful that you don't listen to music that's got lyrics. Even though the positive lyrics can be uplifting, it can take you off topic as well. So that's why the idea is to have instrumental or something like rhythms or beats, yep, something that you can focus in on, because that actually will regulate with your heartbeat as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. So another thing that is really important to keep in mind is to also keep an organized space. Like a lot of people say, no, I work best when I have a messy environment, but that is actually not true, because the body acts in the same way as the environment. So if your environment is cluttered, you're going to have a cluttered thought process as well. So one of the quickest and fastest ways to get into focus is to organize the space around it which you're studying, because that's going to get you into a very organized categorical space, not only visually around you, but it's going to ask you to do the same in your head.
Yes, that was one of our things too that we talked about on a self-care quiz this week, was, are you taking care of your desk? Is it messy? Is it neat? How do you shut down at the end of your day? Is it tidying up, your space? I think it's,
and I can tell you're very tidy, and that's a really important one, because your space is very tidy, the back. So we know that Melissa's at her focus, concentrated best while she's doing this live webinar.
Trying my very best. Setting myself up for success, right?
Yeah, well, you're setting yourself up for success. And I know a lot of students, when they're disorganized, they say, no, that won't work for me. I just like having my mess, and I know where everything is. I've seen executives with messy offices, and they claim that they know where everything is, but I don't buy it. I think it's just another excuse to make yourself feel busy, when really your mind doesn't need to be overly busy. Your mind, when it's overly busy, it can't focus anymore. So you need to know how much to manage as well.
Absolutely.
And again, one of the final ones that I can talk about, I guess, is making it real and purposeful. So you should have goals set out when you're studying. How many pages you should be reading every day, and you should be doing a little bit at a time. In education and in psychology, they call this chunking. And chunking is taking in little bits and pieces of information, because when you take in a lot of information, that's a surefire way to make sure you're disorganized.
Absolutely. I could see that.
Yeah, so like a lot of times students will cram. I was guilty of the same thing when I was in school. Yep. And the coffee runs, and that was really common as well. But yep, if you're going to maintain your focus, it's really important that you study in those graduated small chunks of time, and also that you not limit the caffeine. I'm a coffee lover, so I will never encourage people to stop caffeine. But I will say that if you're studying with caffeine, then you might likely have to take the test with caffeine as well, because older studies used to show that students, when they studied, they had to simulate the testing environment. So if you were drinking coffee or having pop or drinking a juice, then that is actually going to be reinstated in the testing situation when you do the same thing, because you're actually relaxing your body in that way.
Huh. Well, I wonder if it's like a mind muscle thing as well, where it's kind of like a mind memory, where
It is.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It is.
That one.
It is.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. So there's a lot of really interesting things that students can do, but definitely if I have to emphasize any of them, I have to emphasize that doing the little bits and pieces rather than one long haul study period. A lot of students like to brag and say, oh yeah, I just pulled 20 hours studying for the exam, but that might not necessarily be the best thing, because the 20 hours might have been maybe 5 hours of productive studying. Another really fun way to study is to study with people if you're a person that likes studying with people. I had a student telling me that she concentrates and focuses better when there's other people around her. Yeah. So if you do have an ability to do little virtual groups, then you should be doing that as well. Like everyone acts as a sounding board.
The students are agreeing with you on that one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are we doing for time? We're doing at 12:26. How are we doing for questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because that was one of our things, was like, what was your #1 tip? But we can swing back to that at the very end. I did want to just kind of ask you about tech and about students and their cell phones and social media, and like, do you suggest then taking like a little tech break from studying to like check their messages or turn off their phones completely? I know that for concentration and focus these days, that's a big thing, is that our cellular devices sitting beside us. Do you have any tips or tricks on that, please?
Yes, I would probably say, and a lot of the research does suggest that people need to take those tech breaks. But I would say checking messages, particularly if you're a person who worries a little more, and sometimes students tend to worry more around exams, you need to make sure you build in 5 minutes to address that worry. So if you're worrying about receiving an email from someone and you haven't heard from them, then give yourself the opportunity to check that email at least, but don't over ruminate on that email. So I would say, yes, a 5-minute break or 10-minute break to check those messages is important.
That's great. And so your #1 tip would be to our studying in small chunks to go into exam?
Yes.
Week?
Yes, I would say studying in small chunks, and a lot of students are going to kill me because they're going to say, I don't have the time to do that. But I will say to you that it will make more sense for you to do an hour of really productive studying with breaks than it will make you do 5 hours of full straight studying with a lot of tiredness, because the tiredness typically is what impacts focus and concentration.
Absolutely. I think those are some great tips. Thank you so much for joining us today. I actually learned quite a bit there, and
I'm glad.
I'm studying for my yoga teacher training, so I'm doing a little studying, and I haven't studied in a long time. So, if these are tips and things or things you haven't tried before, I think it'd be a great time for the students to try it next week. As I mentioned, they're going into exam week, and why not try something? If it may seem like a big thing to kind of change up how you're doing your studying, but if it's not working for you, maybe this is the time to try to change it up with some great tips from yourself and see how we go for this exams.
Well, I'm really glad I was able to share some of the strategies, and they have worked with a lot of the students that I've worked with. And always remember, you're going to determine what's best for you, but sometimes picking up a strategy or two from other people helps too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear that there's some great little pieces and readables and etc. on your website through the Learning Center. Is that right?
Yes, we also have our Strive Learning Center YouTube channel, and thank you so much for including that. The Strive YouTube channel actually has a lot of different webinars and what we call screencasts, but it's the video version of podcasts, and people can look at those, and some of them focus on motivation, some of them focus on collaboration, some of them focus on time management. We have webinars in the Strive program talking about persistence, which will likely be really important just about now as students are crossing that finish line. The finish line is when you feel the ribbon crossing your chest, but you're not quite able to push your chest out enough because you're tired. So just definitely look at our YouTube channel. If you check out our website at www.senecacollege.com/learning centers and go to the Strive program, you will be able to connect to the YouTube channel there.
That's so great. Lena, thank you so much. You've done a wonderful job of rounding out our 5 days of wellness. Today's focus, I'm just going to plug that at 3:30 right here, we've got a Be Well Live with Michelle Hamer working on some fidget toys for, the fidgeters that need to make focus different way. So it's a little bit of a craft. So if the students or our Seneca community have time, hop on right back here at the Seneca Sting on Instagram at 3:30 today for our very final 3:30 Be Well Live for our 5 days of wellness. Once again, Lina Zacharopoulos from the Learning Center at Seneca College. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, everybody. Good luck on your exams, everyone. Bye, Melissa.
Thank you, everybody. Be well.
Bye.
Bye.